Your fear is the very thing that can save you. Your fear is the very thing that can save you. One more time, your fear is the very thing that can save you. Today we're going to be talking about how to reprogram your relationship with fear, but we're going to be talking about so much more than that, because the thing here is I know that you're tired. And I know that you're ready for a change, because if you're in the spiritual community, if you're in the self-help community, whatever the case is, then you probably got to a point where you were done. You was over it. You're sitting here looking around like, okay, is this it? Am I supposed to just be happy with what's around me? And while there is beauty in non-attachment, there also is beauty in finding your power and your sovereignty. There's also beauty in activating that inner warrior. If you guys already know, I'm sure you do, we're having a Sacred Moon Circle all about this topic, igniting your inner warrior, finding your power, coming into your sovereignty. It's going to be tomorrow. It's going to be linked in my bio. But there is so much power in activating that voice, activating that power, and activating your ability to change your environment and change your circumstances, even if it's your internal environment or if it's your external environment. I know that if you are here, you're a visionary. If you're here, then you are aligned with your purpose. And even if you don't know exactly what your purpose is, you know that you came here with an intention. You know that God has an intention for you, and you know that God makes no fucking mistakes. So what that means is, if you know your purpose, or you know that there is a bigger purpose for your life, then you know that there has to be something that changes around you to truly express that in all capacities. And if you're not truly aligned with that right now, then just sit and listen for a moment, because I know that there's something within you that is still probably tired. To get to the point where we're changing anything, we have to understand how we got to this position in the first place. We have to understand that our society has really numbed us, has really confined us, has really convinced us that we should be scared of things that are natural in this world, right? What do I mean by that? We should be scared of, outside judgment. We should be scared of public perception. We should be scared of other people, criticizing us. We should be scared of competition. We should be scared of rejection. We should be scared of all these things. All of these things, the way that social media works and the way that our society works, it constantly pits us against each other, so that we're always not just scared of the environment, but we become really scared of ourselves. What does that mean? We become really scared of expressing our purpose. We become really scared of expressing our authenticity. We become really scared and fearful of the very things that will truly change our lives, because our fear has really convinced us that the comfort zone is the only safe space, when you know that your comfort zone is really fucking uncomfortable. How do you know that? Because if you're here, then you probably want to change your life. If you're here, you probably want some shit to shake, right? It starts with that feeling of I'm tired, for you to find your reason to change. Now let's talk about fear. And really quick side note, yes, my ADHD is taking over for just a moment here. If y'all send me in more Kafgans, please just understand that this is so comfortable. So comfortable. I bought this for Thailand, for our retreat in Thailand, and I don't know why I'm just now putting it back on. Just feels so good. Yes, I'm a refined woman. But anyways, let's talk about fear and trying to be your friend. Oh my goodness, you leave the house and fear is in your pocket, right? You go into a social function and fear is right next to you, telling you what you should be thinking, right? You go in your car and fear is right in the passenger seat, telling you that you're going to get into an accident. And while there is healthy fear, what we've become accustomed to as a society is to fear things that don't actually threaten our survival. And so for us to begin to deconstruct that relationship, for us to begin to redefine that relationship, which again, we're going to be doing in the Sacred Moon Circle, we have to begin to see fear not as an emotion, but as a response, okay? Now, I really wish I had this man's name, this man who I originally saw say this. He did a whole video on this. Child, I did not listen to the video because I was so stunned by that beautiful statement by itself. But fear is not an emotion. Fear is a response. It truly is. And it's our emotional reaction to this response of fear that determines our actions. It's our emotional reaction to the response of fear that either keeps us confined within our comfort zone or it pushes us to expand. And I want you to understand that yes, it is important to uphold your survival. I'm not saying jump off a cliff, but what I am saying is that there are rarely cliffs everywhere that you step, but your ego feels like there is a cliff everywhere that you step. Why? Because your ego has learned to perceive all negative, quote unquote, emotions as I'm about to die. I'm about to die. You begin to reprogram your relationship with fear by seeing the positive in the things that you have been taught to fear. So many of us fear failure. So many of us fear failure. When in reality, if you see failure, you've heard this before, but we're going to break it down again. If you see failure as data collection, if you see failure as only the process that you have to go through in order for you to see exactly what is for you and what's not for you, if you choose to see failure like this, then you can literally be unstoppable. If you choose that fear of judgment, right? Of judgment from outside perspective. If you choose to see that as positive, do you know how far you will go? If you say instead of being afraid of judgment from the outside, instead of being so afraid of what everyone's gonna think of me, I'm gonna embrace the fact that people are gonna take me negatively. I'm gonna embrace the fact that people are gonna judge me perfect. The more that I am seen and the more that I am judged, the more that the people who are not for me will fall out of resonance with me. I'm gonna repeat that. The more that I am judged and the more that I am seen, the more people that are out of resonance with me can naturally fall away from me. I need to be judged in order to be seen. Therefore, in order for me to be judged and seen, that means, these are two things that are only going to equate to me finding my soul tribe. So the combination, the equation, if you may, is that I will be seen, I will be judged, equals I will find who is really for me. This is a necessary part of the equation. This is something to embrace. This is something, if you really embraced it, then you will put yourself in the line of, perceive fire over and over and over again and fall forward, fail forward. I'm sure you guys have heard that before. Let's use competition, for example. So many people, I've heard so many people, there's so many people in my industry. So how do I set myself apart? I'm just not even gonna try. Baby, the more competition, the better. The more, repeat after me too, the more competition, the better. The more competition there is in my external environment, the more I can show people why I am unique and stand out amongst my peers. Doesn't matter how many people are making bread. People are gonna look for my bread and see the uniqueness in it. And they're gonna love me even more because people love choices and people love freedom. And people love to make empowered decisions. And the more that you present yourself in this space that you say is so oversaturated, the more that people can continue to choose you. And so the more competition, the better. Take a breath. Take a sip. Look, you reprogram your relationship with fear by rewiring the emotional response that you have to that natural bodily reaction. You have to ask your anxiety. This is a very simple exercise that I do with my clients a lot of times. Ask your anxiety why. Don't just stop with I am scared of. Ask your anxiety why. Allow the true answer to be revealed to you and see the positive in that answer. How can this perceived worst case scenario actually set me free? And the thing here that's the most beautiful about this entire process is the more that you expand and lean into what you're afraid of, the more that you will begin to trust your own inner power, the more that you will be able to then trust your own inner knowings, the more that you will then be able to trust what is truly within. Because when you make those small promises to yourself, the small things that you're afraid of, and you decide to do them anyway, when you make those small promises to yourself, what you're doing is you're sending a signal to your brain that, hey, I can rely on me. And if you allow the perceived future outcome to control you, all that you're doing is you're relying on a reality that hasn't even manifested to dictate your responses and your actions in the present moment. But the more that you trust yourself to continue to fall or lean rather into fear, fall into fear. Yeah, actually, let's just say that, fall into fear. The more that you trust yourself to fall into fear, the less fearful and the less scary that the world will become. People who are truly fearless are the only ones in this life who are truly revolutionary, right? So many people have opinions. So many people have things that they want to express. So many people, they have all these things within, but they're scared of being perceived, or they're scared of being rejected, or they're scared of whatever the case. I want to tell you that if you move through this life fearing nothing but the divine, then the divine will show you a life that you thought you could never attain. The divine will show you blessings that you thought would never align with you. And so this aspect of fearlessness, this aspect of fearlessness as a response, allows you to expand into the impossible and make the impossible possible. Fearlessness is a muscle that must be strengthened. Go through every day doing one thing that fucking scares you. Just try. Maybe it's just something that makes you uncomfortable. Sit with that discomfort. Sit with it. I just want to keep using social media because it's a very easy example, analogy, metaphor. But if you're scared, if you want to start something and you're scared of posting a video and getting no likes, post a video anyway and sit with the uncomfort. If this happens, sit with the uncomfort of getting no likes. Sit with the discomfort of getting no likes. Sit with it and don't delete that shit. Sit with it. Sit with it. And you'll see that on the other side of your fear, there is nothing but liberation. Because by you even deciding to post that video, what you're really doing is you're saying, hey, I'm gonna put my creativity, my expression over what I think people are gonna think. If you stop yourself from posting that video, then you're putting the power into everyone else's hands. And I know that if you're here, I'm going to bring it back to this. I know that if you're here, if you're present with me right now, then you're probably tired of feeling disempowered. You're probably tired of being in this certain state of life, being in this certain cycle. And so you get out of this cycle by leaning into your fear. And a lot of people, they sit and they say, that they're ready to change their life. And their mind thinks that, but their body doesn't really think that. Because your body is the feelings that come up within your body, that's what's stopping you. You don't let yourself sit long enough with that discomfort to realize that nothing bad is actually going to happen, and you allow that emotional, bodily, visceral response to confine your actions and confine what you do in this life. there's gonna be a lot of times where you're gonna be uncomfortable. There's gonna be so many times that you're gonna be uncomfortable, love. There is. Do you think it was comfortable for me? Do you think it was comfortable for your favorite, whoever your favorite people is on the internet? Do you think it was comfortable for who? I don't even know. Malcolm X or whoever the case, whoever you love, Michael B. Beckwith, one of my favorite people, right? So you think that it was comfortable for them to start speaking, to start expressing themselves? Do you think that the first time they did it, they was just like, yeah. Maybe it was, but most of the time it's not. But the more and more that you lean into your fear, the more that you make the uncomfortable comfortable, love. Start to see the positive in this. Because if you're neutral to everybody and everything, and you just allow everybody to pull you this way and that way and this way and that way, then no one knows who you truly are. And if no one knows who you truly are, what you stand for, then you're definitely not a leader. If anything, child, I don't even know what you are. You're a bystander. And if you're here, not only are you tired, but if you're here, you probably are also not a bystander. You probably want to have an active hand in your life. You probably want to change the way that things are happening right now, but it's going to take you being uncomfortable for these things to change. It's okay to be uncomfortable, but endure the discomfort long enough to get to the other side, and you'll realize the only thing that you were scared of truly was the discomfort, because nothing bad is happening on the other side of what you know is right for you. It's time for you to stop letting fear control you. It's time for you to shift into what you know you came here to do. And I know this is a hard part. And one of my girls in Thailand asked me this question as we were ending the retreat. But she said, how do I really devote my life to creating, this beautiful, purposeful life that I know that I'm meant to create? How do I do this while I have no energy? How do I do this while I have no energy, while I feel depleted? How do I do this? How do I move about this? I'm going to cover this in the Star of Creation workbook, which, of course, the link is below to be notified when you can get that for free. But the way that you do that, the way that you create from no energy from your human body, is by leaning into the collective energy that you always have access to. What does that mean, Elizabeth? I'm going to tell you. Just wait a second. That means that when you have an intention that's centered around purpose, when you have an intention that's centered around helping not just yourself, but also the collective consciousness, then what you also do is you expand your energetic, container, to not just the energy that you have within, but also the energy of the collective. Because the whole entire energy of the collective is always looking for balance. It's always looking for alignment. And if you align your intention, if you align your purpose, if you align what you know you came here to do with fulfilling a collective issue or solving a collective problem, then you're not just fueling yourself from the position of your own human body and your own desire. You're fueling yourself from the desire of the collective. And so what this really allows us to do is tap into a sense of limitlessness that before probably was not possible. I'm just here to tell you that your fear is gonna free you. I promise you, your fear will free you. Your fear will free you. Every time you visualize yourself doing something that you've been telling yourself that you can't do, what you're really doing is you're reprogramming your nervous system, and you're allowing your nervous system, your subconscious and conscious mind, to become accustomed to the reality that you say you want to live. If you don't do this visualization, if you shy away from this visualization work, then what may happen is you may self-sabotage the very things that you say that you want. Now, what does that mean, child? That means that we self-sabotage the things that feel unfamiliar to us. We self-sabotage the things that are unknown. We self-sabotage the things that are uncomfortable, and maybe the only reason why they're uncomfortable or unfamiliar or unknown is because you haven't allowed yourself to feel worthy enough for these things up until this point. You haven't allowed yourself to feel worthy of the love, of the ease, of the money. You have not allowed yourself to just say, I deserve this blessing. I deserve this blessing. So I think it's time for you to break up with fear. I think it's time for you to say, hey, I truly deserve to lean into the life that I know that I want. But I need you to understand that that life that you know that you want is going to cost you your comfort zone, just like how we talked about in the last video. It's going to cost you your comfort. It's going to cost you a little bit of your ego's pride. But then you'll see the only thing that you are really scared of is truly just feeling that fear to begin with. Learn how to reprogram your relationship with fear by seeing the outcomes that you're so scared of as positive. Then you'll start to react to fear by saying, it must be pushing me into the right direction. You have to fail a few times to win. That's the fact of the matter. You don't learn how to win until you learn how to fail. Woo! That's what I got. One moment. Let me show y'all how the terrorizer of my house is sleeping right now. Just one moment. Is this not the most ridiculous? Don't you have a job to do? Okay. I'm gonna let you rock. But this is a little absurd. Ignore my dead plant. Maybe you should look at this one. She just bloomed for the, 4th year in a row? But anywho. Bye, y'all.